Hello, welcome. I'm Kelly from Body Fit Solutions, and I'm here talking with Liz, our lovely client, who has been with us for about a year and a bit, year and a half.
Yes.
We've known each other for a little bit longer than that. And Liz is a life coach that's been working with us, but then kind of come on to doing more of our fitness training. And I just wanted to have a chat with you, Liz, about your experience with us, what you've got out of your training, so that you can kind of inform other people about your experience, and hopefully they can get a better insight about what we do. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So what I wanted to just give a little background of is where you were at before coming to us. So what kind of things you were doing for your health and fitness, what kind of movement stuff that you were doing, and then what brought you to us. So that might be two questions, but.
Sure. So I've been training for 25 years now. I've worked with, I don't know how many different personal trainers. I've done lots of Les Mills stuff. I've done a lot of swimming and running and things like body pump and spin. And I've been through all the different fashions and fads and all of those different things. And about 10 years ago, I started weight training, and with the last trainer I was working with, who really helped me recover my fitness after having cancer treatment, I was doing a lot of heavy weights and a lot of fairly static barbell type movements. And the more I was doing it, the older I got, the more that wasn't feeling right for my body. And after I'd had cancer treatment, health was my main priority. So fitness is really important to me. The way I feel, the way I look is really important to me, but more than anything, maintaining my health. And I've moved away from CrossFit and all of those other activities because I didn't want to sacrifice my health for fitness. I didn't want injuries and those sorts of things. And with conversations that I'd had with you, and then I can't remember what I was doing at the studio. I think I was having a session with you.
I think we did have a private session so I wanted to share with you what we did, and you were sharing to me what you did. And
And Stuart started talking to me about functional patterns, and he was so animated and passionate and excited about it. And it's so rare to have someone be that fired up about something. And everything he talked to me about, it really resonated. And I was really curious. And he sent me some links, and I started watching YouTube videos. And then I went back to the training that I was doing before, and my whole body was saying no. This isn't right. You're just, everything with functional patterns makes sense. And it took me a while. It took me a while to completely stop what I was doing, but I stopped working with that trainer pretty quickly.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that felt weird because he's a really good friend and we've been training together for ages, and he'd really helped me. But I just knew that functional patterns was really, it made a lot of sense to me. And the whole idea of re-tensioning my body and beginning to really look after my body really made sense. And as you know, I live nearly an hour away from you, so getting into the studio was quite tricky.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to do it, so I started working with Stuart one-on-one and coming to his classes, and I loved it. I just loved it. It made so much sense to me, and I love everything about it.
I'm going to take you back, because you said that you did a lot of Les Mills, and people might know that as like body pump, body attack, all those kind of things, and that you did mainly kind of weightlifting at the end. And you said kind of before you met us that there was something not right, and something didn't feel right. So did you have discomfort in your body? Were you experiencing pain? Was it a mindset thing that you thought, I need to change? What was it about that training that you kind of thought, maybe this isn't right for me now?
There were a number of things. You kind of mentioned I'm a life coach. A lot of what I do is about being connected to your body and about noticing what's happening within your body. So part of it was intuitive, just knowing that it was no longer feeling right, that whenever I did a really heavy deadlift, as much as I love the feeling of being able to lift a heavy weight, there was a part of me kind of feeling like this isn't doing my body any good. Like, what's the point? What am I at? Apart from being able to say, oh, I can lift 100 kilos, like what is the point? How is that going to help me long term? And how is that going to help me stay mobile and flexible and injury free? And I was beginning to, like, I was doing a lot of heavy kind of back squats and my knees were feeling it a little bit. And my lower back was, I could just, I'm really good with my form and I do what I can to try and protect myself when I do certain exercises, but you can't do a bad exercise properly. So it doesn't matter how good my form was, there's a part of me going, this isn't doing my back any good. My quads might be getting stronger, my glutes might be getting stronger, but what's it doing to my spine? And so, my body started just kind of saying no thanks. And then my knees did start hurting and I didn't injure myself, but it was kind of like my body was saying, stop, you want to stop, just listen.
And I think that's interesting that a lot of people don't necessarily listen to that, because it's our tradition to, in the fitness industry, to work hard, no pain, no gain.
Yeah.
And, doing these things that are really extreme and really aggressive in a sense. And there is a sense of achievement to lifting a heavy barbell and to doing a deadlift. I've put this many plates on, and I really get that. And if you're already strong and you already have that fit mindset, to actually have those goals of achieving a higher weight or a heavier, I can see the appeal. And so I guess for people to understand what it maybe felt like at the beginning, and for people to understand, what we do that's different to that kind of style, maybe say like how the transition was. So you've gone from kind of doing a lot of heavy weights, really feeling strong in your body. And then when you came to us, we almost do a little bit of a reset and take you back to kind of really building better foundations of movement. So how did that feel for you, transitioning from a place where you might have felt like, and even though you were having these niggly issues and you were kind of aware, but you felt really strong and achieving, and then kind of maybe feeling like you were coming back to the start. So how was that process for you?
In some ways it suited me because I love a challenge. So it's been a long time since I started something brand new that I had to really think about and pay attention to and kind of and start again in a way. So that I love that challenge and mastering something new. I really like that. There was a part of me that felt quite frustrated when we were really focusing on the myofascial release, because, and I've moved through this a little bit as I've got older, but, like that whole idea of the reason why we love spin is because of the endorphin rush. So knowing, it took me a long time to stop spinning and move to weightlifting, because if you're not sweating and you're not out of breath, then you're even training. So that I'd already done that shift a couple of times. So, really trusting that, releasing all that really tight, sticky fascia was actually doing my body loads of good. And I've done, I've done DOMs, and I spent a lot of time like not being able to sit on the loo, and, like loving and hating that feeling of having a really tough workout.
Yeah.
But then quite fairly quickly noticing the difference in how my body felt after doing all that releasing, and spending a lot of time on releasing. And I think because my priorities have changed and because I'm now looking really long term, the idea of really beginning to look after my body for life, it's such a strong motivation that actually that felt really nice too.
Yeah.
So I mean, like some of the exercises felt really hard at the beginning, and kind of like, am I going to get it? Because there's so much in terms of technique.
Yeah.
But then, I don't know, the more you do it and the more you practice it, and there's so many opportunities to do that. Like I've got all these online classes that I do live with Stu, but then I've got the portal as well, that I've got both of you so I can practice and practice and practice.
Yeah.
I realize now it's automatic now. I don't even think about any of those exercises, and my body's just begun to move differently.
Yeah.
And that,
but it's a process, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a process. And I think it's a process that people aren't used to, because, you know, especially in the industry, it's very much like go to a class, show up, follow, leave. And like you said, you go to a spin class, you do the hour, you get a sweat on, not necessarily getting any corrections. I mean, there's not a lot of corrections on a spin bike, but let's say a body pump class or something like that. I mean, I used to go to body pump and people would be at the front giving no corrections, showing you what to do. And then you kind of do your own interpretation of it. And even with a personal trainer, and a very good personal trainer, there's more correction being done there. But from a fundamental level, I don't think the industry really understands like how to bring the body back to its innate, its primal function, not just the aesthetics, like I want to work my biceps and I want to work my triceps and I want to have big quads. And that's all great from an aesthetic point of view.
Yeah.
But to get into the mindset where people want to improve internally, almost out, that's a hard concept to sell. So, and you were already at a mindset to be able to do that, and you were very conscious of your body. But for someone kind of starting out, what do you think the difference was for you in doing the type of exercise that we do at Body Fit, where it's a bit more detailed, it's a bit more technique, it's a bit more long-term, versus this aesthetic where you might get the results fast, but the long-term effects of it is you're going to have pain, dysfunction. So for someone starting off, you know, how would you kind of sell this versus that? From your experience now, sorry to put you on the spot like that, but
I think in a way it's a little bit like a crash diet versus healthy nutrition.
Yeah.
And a kind of a magic pill versus a really healthy, positive relationship with your body.
Yeah.
Life. And I think, you know, with lots of things, like with what I do and with the fitness industry, the nutrition industry, there's a lot of people being sold a magic bullet. Yeah. And like, if you just do this and you know, transform your body in 6 weeks and do this in 6 weeks, and it's just going to happen automatically and then you'll be fine forever. And that's just not true. And you know, how many times have we bought into that and done it and repeated that same pattern, and it never works. It's always short term. And so I think part of it is if you're not open to it, if you're not prepared to look long term, and you're not prepared to put the work in, and create those practices for life, then actually you're probably not going to be remotely interested.
Yeah, it's true.
But if there is part of you that knows that actually it is about creating a healthy relationship and contributing to that, practicing that kind of, not day in, day out, but, you know, long term, that this isn't about getting a summer body or having abs next week, but actually, like for me, the thought of being flexible when I'm in my 80s, being able to ride a bike and run around with my grandchildren and get up and down off the sofa without pain when I'm really, really old.
Yeah.
Even now, kind of training now and not constantly having injuries. You know, I've got a lot of friends who do CrossFit and do a lot of marathon running and Ironman training and all of that kind of thing. And they're constantly injured.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be. And it's taken me till now. It's taken me till I'm in my 40s to kind of go, that's not cool. I'd rather slow it down slightly, or be more measured, and be more conscious of what I'm doing to my body and stay fit and healthy,
Yeah.
than try and kind of overdo it and then end up not being able to do anything.
And suffering in the long term for it. So
Yeah.
what have you felt has been the changes you have felt? So kind of starting at the beginning, you were weight training, you stopped that pretty much full stop.
Yeah.
And we advised you to do the myofascial release, which was a long process, and then just slowly integrating these functional movement patterns, really from a low level, as you said, and then building up to where you're working kind of at a body fit level, where we do our kind of more high intensity stuff. So what are the changes that you've felt in your body since kind of doing that process?
I feel so much more connected to it. Like I know what different muscles are doing now, and I move in a different way. My posture's better. The way I walk, the way I stand, the way I sit is better. I'm running again. I had to stop running nearly 15 years ago because I'd done too much running. And now I'm running again pain-free, which is immense. But I'm also really conscious of what my body can and can't do.
Yeah.
So my running technique has changed. I'm running in a different way, and I'm running a lot quicker because I now have a lot more flexibility and a lot more movement. So I'm running better than I was 15 years ago, which is bizarre.
You're more efficient.
Yeah, we went skiing last Christmas, and I haven't skied that well probably ever. I was really worried before we went that my knees might feel it, and I might be feeling a bit old and decrepit, and it might be, not great. But I've never skied so well in my life. I just felt completely connected to my body, and my body was moving in such a beautiful way, such a beautiful flow.
Yeah.
So everything just feels fluid but strong, kind of like we talk about retensioning. And so I feel stronger now than I did then, but in a much more flexible way. So before it was a bit like a kind of world's strongest man, kind of stand there, can't really move very far, but like a big strong rock.
Yeah.
Whereas now I feel more lithe and more like an athlete than a weightlifter.
Yeah.
So I feel younger, which is amazing.
Yay!
Yeah, it is. And I feel, with the kind of stuff we're doing in Body Fit now, because of the way Stu does his classes, and I don't know how he does it, because literally, I don't know how many he does a week, but they're always different. Every one different. And there's not many people out there that are that creative and that are that willing to keep changing it up.
Yeah.
So constantly being pushed, but not sort of so far that every time you go you feel like a beginner. It's sort of like building
little steps.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm progressing, even though I can't remember the last time I actually saw you in real life.
I know. I was going to say that to you, that our experience has changed, obviously, with lockdowns and where we were coming into the studio. And you were doing a lot of independent stuff anyways, because you were coming in not as often as you were far away, and kind of doing your own self-practice. But how have you found the online classes for yourself?
I'm gonna not cry. Like, they literally, you guys are what have got me through lockdown. Seriously, if it hadn't been for Body Fit and for doing Pilates on the portal and doing Body Fit with Stu, I don't know what I would have done. Like, exercise is my it's my release. It's what helps my mental health. I've got an 8-year-old who's in the other room, and my husband's at work all the time, so I've got very little time to train on my own. So being able to do that in the house, with the weights that I've got, and I've kind of built up what I've got over the last sort of year or so, and it has just been a godsend. And because Stuart does it with us, and because of how, you know, he goes through the technique and he really makes sure that we're doing it properly. You don't feel like you're floundering. I don't feel like I'm floundering around in the living room, not knowing what I'm doing, feeling unsupported. I know exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And he's so clear that, yeah, I've just come on leaps and bounds. So it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Oh, thank you. And I wish he was here. It's because his head would go like, you'd have a big head, but you know, you've nailed it, that actually there's a difference between kind of just doing a class and watching, because you can watch on YouTube, there's lots of stuff out there right now. But the difference between kind of doing an exercise and doing it correctly, and doing exercises that don't serve our biomechanics and exercises that do and help us to walk better and help us to run better. There's a very big difference there. You know, a traditional squat, in the sense that we probably know it, doesn't always serve us the best for our functioning. So it's not just about doing an exercise, it's about doing it correctly. And you still feel that you get that online?
Yeah, completely. And one of the other things I've learned from you actually is about really listening to your body, and kind of during your Pilates classes where you're saying, you know, I'm going to do it this way, actually that feels better today, and these are the different options, go with what feels right to you, rather than so many times when it's like, do this. And even though it might hurt or might niggle, that's what you've been told to do, so you do it. Whereas you're like, every class, you're like, trust your body, listen to your body, what feels good today. And that might be different on the left and the right. It might have been different yesterday. And that's really given me the confidence to kind of go, yeah, today I'm going to do the lower impact one. And that doesn't mean that I'm cheating or I'm kind of giving up. That actually serves my body better today.
Yeah.
And
that's
that's
an important message, isn't it?
huge. And it's not a message you hear a lot. So that's been a big game changer for me as well.
Yeah, giving yourself permission to go to a low, and I don't like to say high and low level. It's just a different level, isn't it? It's a level that even us as trainers, you know, if I take a class, I go down to a level if I don't feel like this level serves me that day. But you think that, you know, my ego would go, I need to do this.
I need to do the hard one.
Yeah, I think we do as a collective kind of think the harder I work, the more benefit I'm going to get. Yeah.
But also, you know, when I listen to you, kind of like, today this feels harder, although it might be the lower impact one, actually this feels harder today, or this feels like it will serve me more, or going slower might serve me more, or, you know, whatever it might be. But you leading by example rather than, I'm going to do this way, but you trust your instincts.
Yeah, exactly. So just a final thing is, someone new who's never experienced Body Fit before and what we do, what would be a good way, with your experience, that you would describe what they would maybe get out of it, or what the experience would be like for them coming into our classes and experience our programs?
Obviously, you can tell I love it. I was trying to have a non-biased answer, but I don't think I can do it. This is not a quick fix. So if you're looking for something where someone's going to promise you, not the impossible, I don't mean that, but you're not going to get any BS. So that's one of the things that I really love. I would say, I'm quite impatient, there is a part of me that wants to be able to run before I can walk. And I think people look to, when you're being promised something that, you know, this is going to have long-term benefit, what they don't maybe understand is that actually, whilst you're undoing certain things, that's going to bring other things to light. So if you have underlying knee problems, or if you have other things that have been masked by the way you've been doing things, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a bad thing. Like, it's a long-term change of mindset and change of a pattern of training that actually, if you give yourself the time to master it, is a complete game changer. Like there's no way I'm ever going back to doing it the way I did it before. I literally couldn't. Once you get your head around it. So I would say just be really, really open to doing things in a way that the fitness industry as a whole hasn't been telling you. Be open enough to allow yourself to move differently and trust your body enough to know that it's going to be really, really amazing for you.
Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else you wanted to add, or?
I think the only thing is that if anything feels new or different and it doesn't feel like you don't understand, if it is online and you are in an online class, that one of the things you two are both really, really good at is if I've got questions or I'm not clear on something, that you're always really, really good at answering questions afterwards. If I've got anything that like there's been times where I've done something and I'm not sure if I'm doing it quite correctly, that I can ask you both and you'll both show me or tell me how to correct it. And you two are both so passionate about being of service and really supporting your clients. I've never worked with anybody quite as passionate as you two are about wanting the best for their clients. And I mean that in every sense. And that's something that the industry really could do with more of.
Oh, thank you, Nolan. Thank you. It is important to us
It's
that everyone gets the most out of their life.
Yeah.
And part of that is movement. And if you can move well for the rest of your life, we live a better life, don't we? Like you said, we want to be healthy and active until we're 80, 90, 100, whatever. So
pain-free. Yeah, pain-free and moving well. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for your time. I really, really appreciate it. See you soon.